I forced myself to take a step forward, my fingertips trembling slightly with nerves. He was standing by the car downstairs, and when he noticed me, I even forgot how to walk. That wasn't a good sign at all. As I inwardly cursed myself for being such a wimp. After all, this was just a date meant to get him off my back. No need to make a big deal out of it. I couldn't help but feel a tiny bit excited, wondering just where this provocative little date would lead. Calm down, Ellie. You're just trying to win. Good evening, Miss Brown, he said as I approached the car, straightening up from his slouch. His hair was neatly slicked back, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that those unruly strands were just waiting to fall into his face. I made a conscious effort not to let my gaze linger on the tight chest and muscular arms outlined beneath his sweater. Good evening, Morgan. As I leaned closer, it became even harder to ignore his handsome face. The sharply defined jawline and the freshly shaved stubble were enough to stir something deep within me. Are you cold? He asked, his eyes fixed on my tightly fastened windbreaker. I'm fine. Shall we go? Of course, he replied, nodding as he turned to open the door for me. No need, I said with a teasing tone. I mean, we don't have to pretend like I haven't figured out exactly what you're up to tonight. His lips curved ever so slightly into a faint smile at my remark. I guess when Henry and Mary taught me to be a gentleman to ladies, they never could have imagined meeting someone like you. Henry and Mary would surely be disappointed. I chuckled, shaking my head as I stepped past him and slid into the black Audi sports car. I buckled my seatbelt, waiting for him to make his way around to the driver's side. Do you know my parents? He asked as he fastened his seatbelt. You probably don't remember me, and I can't really recall you either, but I did go to your younger brother's wedding. That day, I met Bennett's parents, and we ran into them a few more times afterward. The first time I saw them, I immediately realized that Bennett's good looks and elegance were clearly inherited. But his terrible temper was nothing like his parents. His parents were always warm and kind to everyone, whereas Bennett used to be much angrier and downright meaner. At least that's what Zoe said. I didn't go to Ben's wedding, he said. What? What kind of person wouldn't show up for their own little brother's wedding? Someone who's busy working. At the time, I was still living in London and had some important work to take care of. No wonder everyone says you're a workaholic. I glanced at him and just happened to catch him staring at my legs. He shrugged and cleared his throat. It's kind of weird thinking about dating someone who knows my parents. But looking at it from the bright side, at least I won't have to go out of my way to introduce you two in the future. There'll never be a future between us anyway. And seriously, what's weirdest is that you happen to be the son of such nice people. Have you ever considered that maybe you've been wearing rose-colored glasses whenever you look at me? Are you saying I shouldn't have been biased just because you only just found out my name and immediately tried to get close to me? We always end up circling back to this topic. Let's just move on, okay? Tonight, I'll give you a chance to see the good side of me. He flashed a teasing, ambiguous smile, and I turned my head away, rolling my eyes. A chance to see the good side of you? That's funny, I said with a laugh. When you say the good side of me, does it sound like you're talking about your little crush instead? He laughed. Damn. He looked absolutely stunning when he did. Haven't you noticed we're still parked downstairs at your apartment? Do you want me to drive, or should we just spend the night here? If you keep flirting with me like that, I'm going to lose all focus behind the wheel. Sorry, I forgot men can only ever concentrate on one thing at a time. Must be because they always think with their lower halves. Don't worry, Brown. You'll see just how multitasking I am. He shot back casually as he started the car. I'm not interested in seeing that at all. So, where are we headed? A restaurant. How original. I muttered under my breath. If you'd rather just head straight to my place, you could have just said so. I glanced at his profile and caught a glimpse of that smug little smirk playing around the corners of his mouth. You know I didn't mean it that way. During the drive, I suddenly realized that the silence between us wasn't awkward at all, and that realization made me feel oddly uneasy. As he stared at my legs for what felt like an eternity, I made every effort to appear nonchalant. Even when I found myself unable to help but stare at his hands and let my thoughts wander aimlessly, I forced myself to hold back. I decided not to argue with him until we reached the restaurant, just to avoid any chance of an accident. Our exchanges have always been like this. Our weapons are pure sarcasm, biting remarks, and those occasional ambiguous hints he slips in now and then. When he parked the car in front of the restaurant, we exchanged just a few sharp words. Thankfully, nothing went wrong. As soon as we stepped inside, a blonde woman with piercing blue eyes, I guess she was the hostess, greeted us with a warm smile. The place had an exquisite decor. I'd heard about it before. Was he trying to impress me, or did he just frequent places like this regularly? I'd bet it was the latter. Good evening. Did you make a reservation, sir? The blonde woman asked with a smile. As Ethan started talking to her, I took a quick look around. The ceiling was adorned with a massive crystal chandelier. The tables were set with white tablecloths. The walls were hung with oversized mirrors and paintings, and the space was dotted with lush greenery. The lavish decor complemented the palace-style gold and gray walls perfectly. Ethan nudged my arm, pulling my attention back to him. Shall I show you to your seats? The blonde woman asked with a smile. We're not a couple. I corrected her, and she immediately blinked in embarrassment. Ethan, standing nearby, let out a sigh. This is going to be a mess, he said with a forced smile, and she led us forward. He placed his hand lightly on my elbow and whispered, No one here cares whether we're a couple or not. I do care. I don't want anyone thinking I'd date someone like you. I gave him a fake smile in return. Why was it that whenever I was around him, I just couldn't help but provoke him? You mean someone as sexy and charming as me? He asked with a grin, and I barely managed to keep from laughing. Nobody uses the old-fashioned term charming anymore, Mr. Morgan, she said. Your table is ready, Mr. Morgan. Enjoy your meal. The hostess paused by a dining table and announced. I noticed the way she looked at Ethan, scanning him from head to toe, as if appraising a prime cut of steak. Thanks, he replied. After she turned and walked away, I found myself still staring at her retreating figure. Miss Brown, he called out, resting his hand on the back of the chair, waiting for me to take my seat. I told you, no need to play the gentleman, I said as I sat down. I don't want to give my parents another reason to be disappointed, do I? He whispered softly behind me. I picked up the menu, waiting for him to sit down across from me. That blonde woman over there must be dying to take my seat, I remarked as I glanced through the menu options. What did you just say? I slid the menu down a bit and looked at him. Didn't you notice how she's staring at you, like a hungry wolf eyeing a juicy piece of meat? I didn't pay much attention. When I'm dating a woman who interests me, I usually don't glance at anyone else. You'd actually date a woman who doesn't interest you? Plenty of times, just for the sake of work. I nodded. You always manage to twist my words around. It's really annoying, Miss Brown. I tossed the menu onto the table, crossed my arms, and gave him a steady look. Sorry, but don't forget, it was you who insisted on asking me out in the first place. If you're looking for a gentle, caring woman to keep you company, you could have just picked someone else, someone who's genuinely interested in you. Next time, remember to pick someone else. Oh my God. He closed his eyes and let out a wry chuckle, taking a deep breath. What are you thinking? Just tell me. I can handle it. Just kidding, I said, mentally picturing him probably cursing me soundly under his breath. When he opened his eyes again, there wasn't the anger I'd expected to see. Instead, his gaze was filled with a raw, fiercer desire that almost made me hold my breath and sent a shiver down my spine. I was thinking, I really ought to find something to shut that annoying little mouth of yours, he said. His words nearly knocked my jaw loose. I blinked, trying hard to process what he'd just said, yet couldn't help but picture exactly what he'd implied. A smug grin spread across his face. If I'd known saying what was really on my mind would make you shut up, I'd have done it ages ago, Miss Brown. I cleared my throat. I thought you'd say something nasty. But then again, what else could I expect from a jerk like you? Excuse me, came a voice from behind us, a blonde woman who'd stopped by the table. Sorry to interrupt, but I forgot to ask if this lady would like to leave her coat in storage. Of course, Ethan chimed in before I could even speak, his expression teasing. Miss Brown just told me she's feeling a bit warm. I gave him a fake smile, barely suppressing the urge to kick him right in the groin. I knew exactly what he was up to. He wanted to see what I was wearing beneath my coat. Thinking about what I'd put on under that skirt, I stood up, confidently unbuttoned the trench coat covering it, and let it slide off my arm. All the while, I kept my eyes fixed on Mr. Morgan's reaction. At first, he wore an expression of eager anticipation. Then his gaze began to roam over me, from the thighs peeking out from under the skirt, up to the neckline, and finally lingering on my neck. His stare made my whole body feel unbearably hot. Taking a deep breath, I handed the coat to the hostess and sat back down. Satisfied now? I asked once she'd left. Satisfied doesn't quite do it justice, Miss Brown, he said, picking up the menu and spreading it out on the table. I knew it. Your mind is probably filled with nothing but lowbrow words. Glad you finally met my expectations. What are you talking about? He looked up at me. When you picked out this dress, did you have me in mind too? Don't get all fancy on me. I love imagining what you're like when you miss me, especially late at night, lying alone in bed. Go ahead and dream your heart's content. I grabbed the menu off the table again. It really is just a dream. Even if you don't want to admit it, you always show up in my dreams. Shut up. What? You don't like hearing the truth. I know exactly what you're trying to do. This trick won't work. Then why are you blushing? I thought you were fearless, unafraid of anything. Who'd have guessed you'd turn shy? Damn it. My face stubbornly turned red anyway. Cut the modest act. This is all because you've got me so upset. I'm lying. Oh, really? He lowered his head and went back to studying the menu. What a cocky jerk. I can't let him think he's got the upper hand, not even if he actually does. I absolutely can't let him know. Mr. Morgan, do you remember those lingerie sets Zoe gave me? I waited until he looked up, his curiosity piqued, and his attention fully focused on me. Then I nodded slowly. They came in handy tonight, so thanks for them. As I spoke, I raised the menu to hide the smile tugging at the corners of my mouth, leaving him utterly dumbfounded, a look that was nothing short of priceless. For a split second, I found myself speechless, my mind instantly conjuring up the image of her wearing those very lingerie sets. Back when Zoe had insisted she open the gift right in front of me, I'd already imagined it, but no imagination could ever compare to seeing it with my own eyes, not even by a fraction. From that moment on, I knew I'd do absolutely anything just to catch a glimpse of what lay beneath her skirt. Are you really wearing it under your skirt? She placed the menu back on the table and stared at me. Now, I simply couldn't focus on anything else. Just keeping myself in check required immense self-control, let alone imagining her wearing that black lace. Didn't I just say so? She replied. Just then, the waiter happened to walk over to our table and asked if we were ready to order. I needed something strong. Just looking at her in that dress was already taxing my self-restraint, not to mention those long, elegant legs of hers, clad in black heels. I almost begged her to turn around, just so I could catch a glimpse of her silhouette in the dress from behind. I didn't like the situation we'd gotten ourselves into. She was practically driving me to the brink of surrender. I had to find a way to turn the tables, and fast. I knew this kind of mutual teasing was an effective way to get what I wanted, but her resistance was far stronger than I'd ever imagined. I've got to come up with a plan right away. I'll wait until the waiter has written down Miss Brown's order before I place my own. Then I'll add a bottle of whiskey on top. Have I been making your company uncomfortable? She asked as soon as the waiter left. What do you mean? I looked at her, utterly confused. Otherwise, how would you have ordered a strong drink like whiskey? You really are annoying, Miss Brown, but your company could never make me bored. Is that supposed to be a compliment? She raised an eyebrow. It is, I said. Then you'd better take out that annoying part, she shrugged. She really was annoying in the most delightful way. Have you ever had a boyfriend, Miss Brown? I tried to change the subject. Can't we just have a normal conversation for once? Why do you even ask that? I took a deep breath, trying hard to keep my temper in check. Every time I ask a question, do you have to ask why? Isn't it the right thing to ask? I need to know why you're interested. I ask because I genuinely want to understand you. You can ask me anything too, of course, as long as you answer my questions in return. Are you trying to play the nice guy just to get close to me? Oh my God. When I finally manage to get her into bed, I'm definitely going to stuff something in her mouth to shut her up. Just thinking about that makes me feel a little calmer. I'm starting to think it's simply impossible to have a decent conversation with you. Sorry, I just can't help but feel like you're only looking for an opportunity to get close to me. Enough already. She's pushing it way too far. Let's be clear. We both know exactly what I want, so there's no need for me to put on any act. Got it? I'm just being myself, showing you that I'm not the worthless person you seem to think I am. This is all I can do, just to get what I want. Understand? Why on earth are you spending so much time and energy on me? How dare she ask a question like that? Doesn't she ever look in the mirror? Which man wouldn't go through fire and water for her? Because I want to, and whenever I set my mind on something, I always get it. I'm sure you've been disappointed a few times too. That's just life. Not every wish can come true. So, what do you want, Miss Brown? She took a deep breath, thought for a moment, then replied, right now? To get rid of you, and those jerks who've barged back into my life. I didn't like the way she lumped me together with all the other men in her life. What they'd done to her had nothing to do with me. But I understood, that kind of bad experience leaves scars. Are you talking about that ex-boyfriend who went back to New York? She'd mentioned him yesterday. I wish he'd just gone back to New York. That jerk is now living in the apartment right next to mine. Your ex-boyfriend is your neighbor? Why does this make me feel as if I've got lice crawling all over me? He's not my ex-boyfriend. To be precise, answer your earlier question, I've dated guys before, but Todd wasn't one of them. Even though our dynamic back then was no different from that of a real couple. That doesn't make sense. We'd agreed to be exclusive with each other, but he never actually confessed his feelings. I'm not even sure why I'm telling you all this. As she spoke, I could see the pain and sadness in her eyes, even though she deliberately avoided meeting my gaze. Could it be that she still has feelings for that jerk? Why does it bother me so much to see her like this? Maybe it's because I've only ever known her strong, determined, and even prickly side. It was a long time ago, wasn't it? Maybe I could find out whether she still loves him. If she does, then chasing after her would be even harder. Yeah, it's been quite a while, she shrugs. How long exactly? Over a year, almost 2 years now. Did you ever love him? I don't know why I asked that. It's probably just genuine curiosity. Who are you, my shrink? She laughs, but behind that smile, I clearly see the pain in her eyes. Whoever that jerk is, she must have loved him, but he never knew how lucky he was. Damn it. I know all too well what she's been through, and it makes me feel like such a bastard. I never planned to trick her into falling for me, nor would I ever play games with her feelings. I would never do something like this to anyone. After all, I know only too well how agonizing that feeling can be. Contrary to what Miss Brown thinks, I've always been completely honest with every woman I've dated. You actually cracked a joke to make me laugh instead of yelling at me? I tried to chase away the sadness from her face. Yeah, I almost believed for a moment that you really cared about me, she said, shaking her head. I do care, actually. Really? She rolled her eyes, yet a faint smile tugged at the corners of her lips. I wouldn't waste my time on people or things I'm not interested in. I was being completely honest with her. You know there are plenty of women out there who'd fall head over heels for you, right? After a few seconds of silence, she replied, I know, but you're not one of them. That's precisely why you've gone to such great lengths, isn't it? I was already interested in you before I even realized just how hard you were to deal with. You just want to win this game. You're not genuinely concerned about me at all. Don't forget, I'm a scientist. I know a thing or two about human behavior. She was right. At least, that's what I'd thought just a few seconds ago. Until I realized she wasn't just an arrogant woman. She also had a painful past hidden beneath the surface. That changed everything. I still wanted her to give in to me, but after hearing her story, I couldn't help but feel a newfound tenderness toward her feelings. And that made me even more curious about her. Where did you study, Miss Brown? I did my undergraduate degree at Columbia University and earned my MBA from New York University. It took me by surprise. Maybe her arrogance wasn't just a product of her beauty. Wow. Not only are you a scientist, you're also a straight-A student? I never would have guessed. Are you maybe a little too young? She laughed, and my gaze involuntarily lingered on her lips. What about you? Let me guess. Harvard? Stanford? Princeton?
MIT?
The curiosity and earnestness in her eyes warmed my heart. Stanford, and I even did further studies at Oxford. Then, am I the real brainiac? She asked with a smile. The waiter approached our table, interrupting our conversation. After serving the dishes, he left. I poured wine for both of us, and only then did we begin eating. I'm guessing you're a New York native, I said. Actually, no. I'm from California. Then how did you end up here? I came to study at university. All by yourself? She nodded. I totally get that feeling. How long have you been living in London?
6 years, she said.
I've been here for 10 years. No wonder you look like a true New Yorker. Do you miss California? I do, especially my parents.
How about you?
Have you started missing London yet? Not yet, but I think I will soon. Are you planning to go back? Not right now, at least not for the time being. Maybe someday, though. She nodded and, for the first time, picked up her fork and brought it to her mouth. As I watched her lips close around the fork, I couldn't help shifting slightly in my seat. You asked about my dating history. What about you? Have you had many girlfriends? She raised her wine glass and took a small sip before asking. I didn't feel like talking about that. It would bring up some awful memories I'd rather leave buried. Just 2, I replied. Wow, I thought there'd be more than that. Did those relationships last very long? The first one was a long time ago, back in college. I really don't want to talk about it. Sorry, I lost my temper. We're not even friends, after all. It's not because of that. It's just, I don't want to tell anyone about it. All right, she said, nodding her head. Her phone started vibrating in her bag, so she pulled it out and glanced at the screen. Excuse me for a minute, I'm going to the restroom, she said, picking up her bag and standing up. Was she mad at me? Well, there wasn't much I could do about it. I wasn't going to tell her about my ex-fiancé just to win her sympathy.
I didn't need that.
My gaze followed her retreating figure, and finally, I got a good look at the curve of her hips in that dress. Oh my God. Right now, I have absolutely no idea what to do. Why on earth did I ever impulsively promise myself I'd never touch her? Reason screams wildly in my mind, reminding me that I must keep our promise, yet the desire within my body is like a runaway beast, roaring at me to chase after her, follow her into the bathroom, lock her firmly by my side, and make her completely mine. I clutch the whiskey bottle tightly, my knuckles turning white as I slam a glass full of the fiery liquid down in one gulp. The spicy liquid burns my throat, yet it does nothing to quell the burning heat and inner turmoil raging inside me. On one side stands the boundary I must uphold at all costs. On the other, an intense, unrelenting longing. These two thoughts clash fiercely in my mind, threatening to tear me apart. Come on, Morgan, think of a way to honor your promise while still holding on to her.